Welcome to Salvage Mender. Hiya, my name's Brian and this is my channel.
Hi, I've already fixed several saggy bottom drawers with brackets I've made and timber with dowels in it. I've got another one to repair, but this time I want to repair it using simple tools that anybody can do. I've also made sure that I'm only using spare parts you can find anywhere. Let's get started. What you're going to need is timber. This is 25mm by 10mm or inch by 3/8 of an inch. It's pine stripwood moulding. You can get it from many big DIY stores. You're also going to need 3.5mm by 12mm wood screws. Again, you can get them from DIY stores. I had some trouble trying to find the kind of brackets I wanted to use because they need to be narrow, but I eventually found an online seller called RS Components. They have exactly the kind I want. I've got no interest in the company at all, they simply have what I want. I'll put a link in the description below for the brackets. To get this repair going, I made up these copies of their brackets, and even though they're slightly lighter material, I'll be able to show you how they would work. The only tools you're going to need is a saw, piece of paper, pencil, tape rule, screwdriver, and something sharp to mark the holes. Screwdriver or something like that. Right, I'm going to take off my original more complicated repair from this drawer and show you the simple way. Here's the custom bracket. It's made to fit a range of styles of drawer fronts. I designed it that way to keep these attaching lugs really low in case this part was lower on various drawers. So just getting this out the road. Obviously this bracket's a lot more complicated than the title of Repairing Things Simply would work with. This is the end with the dowel insert, and the dowel insert is there to prevent the wood from splitting when I drive the screw in at the back. The new easy repair is nowhere as complicated as this. Right, here, you can see the saggy bit now that I've taken this brace off the back. It's happened because this backboard has bowed. I've found that just re-gluing the base doesn't last long, especially if the bone back isn't fixed. So, to pop that back in there and pull that back down. Okay. The first thing you're going to want to do is to find the length of timber you need for the base of the drawer. Okay, see if we can show you what I'm doing here. Lay the timber against the front here, and in this edge here, just make a small mark. Reasonably carefully, and once you've got that mark, this is the scrap side. That's important, you'll need to know that in a minute. You need to mark this line at 90 degrees to the edge. If you've got a square, great. If you don't have the square, use your piece of paper. I'll show you how to do that. Scrap piece of paper, fold it in half. That gives you a perfectly straight line. There we go. Now you get your piece of paper, take the mark, put the paper against the mark and wrap it round so it overlaps exactly on top. Right. Just line up that mark with the edge of the paper. Oh, too far. There we go. And you can then draw a 90° all the way around. By the way, if you want to have an exact 90°, fold this exactly in half, right along that edge. That is a perfect 90°. Anyway, don't need that for this, it's just a wee aside. Next thing you're going to want to do is cut the timber with a saw. Okay, so now you get your piece of wood, use this universal clamp device. Now, when you marked this, it was on the inside of the drawer. The drawer came to here. So what you don't want to do, you don't want to make this too long that way. So cut right against that line. You can see that? Hope you can see that. If I do it that way, maybe see it a wee bit easier. Cut right against that line. Take your time. There's no rush. Cut as straight as you can, and when you're nearly through, just support the other side of the wood so that it doesn't break off, leaving big rags. There we go. So, just check to make sure that the timber fits the drawer. Oh, it's just a tiny wee bit tight there. So, what you can do is, if you have a file, use a file just to take that edge away. I've got some sandpaper here, sandpaper will do fine. And we'll just there we go. How's that? Perfect. That's all it needs. Just as long as you take care when you're sawing it, you don't need too much adjustment there. Next, what you want to do, you align the bracket with the side of the timber. And you can either just mark it with a pencil or get something sharp, screwdriver, nail in at all, just to mark that hole, and mark that hole as well. This is just giving you just wee guides to let the screws that you're going to fit start. So take your little screw and gently screw it into the timber. You need to press down a little. And it doesn't need to be too tight, that should be good enough. And the other screw in the other hole. There we go. Now, you line this up with the centre of the drawer. What you have to do is find the centre. I've already got these marks here, but we'll ignore that. We'll just redo it, just to show you how it goes. So, you take that measurement there. It's just almost 26, so almost 13. That'll be the dead centre, but that's not what you want. You want the dead centre. For that, what you can do is if you put your bracket and measure that gap, that's given me a size of, in metric, it's 630 millimetres. So half of 630 millimetres is 315, and if you want it in inches, it's 24 and 11 sixteenths, which would be 24 11 sixteenths, which would be 12 and 11 32. So 12 and 11 32. There, that's exactly right, that's where I had the mark. Let's measure from here. And measuring from here. As you can see, that's where I've already marked it. Next, what you want to do, I'll put it that way around so as you can see what's going on here. Line that up with the two marks you just made and pushing it towards the front. Take, where is it? Your hole making device. Now I've already got holes here, but what you would do is you would line that up with where you want it to go, put that through there, and it's easy to mark. I'll move it to this spare piece here. I'm not going to screw it in there, but just to show you how easy it is to mark. Pushing it in there, and then just lean on it. What that does is it gives you a wee dimple, and then you can force that dimple into a slightly bigger mark. And then that'll give you, what you do is you take your screw, pushing it into the mark, and then turn the screw in. That'll cut a thread into the timber for you, and it means that when you come to fit the bracket, which I'll use my original mark here, because you've already started the hole, the screw will go in, and then you can tighten that up. Okay, so pull that back to straight. If you want, you can measure to make sure that you get the same gap. Top and bottom. There we go. So you take your other bracket, and as you can see, I've already got this hole here, but that's pretty much what all I'm doing there is marking that again, driving that in to make the mark so that it'll take the screw. And that'll just screw in there. So that's that second bracket fitted. Now the actual repair of the drawer to stop the base bowing is by fixing this as far forward as it will go, marking the wood, keep that pressure going forward, put the screw in and tighten it down. Again, not overly tight, just enough to hold it. Once you've done that, drawer's fixed. You've done. If you take a wee minute to look at the repair, you'll see that the base is now held up by the original groove, and the timber is only really there to stop this base from moving that way. So that is actually sitting in the groove. It's also been supported by the timber across the bottom, but that, yeah, you can see that's pretty much really straightforward fix. The only thing you need to make sure is that this edge and this edge aren't flexing, and that's what this stay does, stops that from happening. Hope this video was helpful for you. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Subscribe and like if you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, Salvage Mender.